Systems basically focuses on providing electronic banking and remittance systems. We are based out of the Far East in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and basically what we'd like to demo today is our remittance platform called VirtuaRemit. But before I start the demo, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the global remittance or international money business, which is valued by the World Bank at approximately $300 billion US, and that's a lot of money. According to the World Bank, in 2007, $45 billion US was repatriated out of the United States. And really today, what we'd like to demo and to showcase it at Finovate is our remittance platform. So before I delve into the demo, I'd like to basically set up a scenario. In any remittance processing transaction, there is a value chain from origination to integration to distribution. So for the demo today, I'd like to do a simulation wherein which a remitter, let's say, walks into a US bank and wants to send money to a Filipino in Manila, for example. So if we log on to the system right now, so I'll just try to I'll get on now. Okay, what I have over here is the first bit of our solution, which is the origination bit, okay? Now, essentially what I've done is, let's search for some transactions. I've set up a transaction already, which is this one, by a Mr. John Smith, sending money to Janet Smith, okay? So this transaction has been captured already by the system. And what I'm going to do now is, as the bank, the receiving bank, I am going to authorize that transaction. Okay, so by clicking authorize, okay, the system basically comes back and says that, okay, the transaction is authorized. And what happens right now is the system passes it over to the remittance gateway, which will then repatriate the funds to the Filipino bank. Okay, so I'll go on to the second part of the demo where we simulate the beneficiary, Janet Smith, coming up to a bank in Manila to receive the money. So what I'm going to do now is I will log on. So now let's pretend we are at the Filipino end, receiving the money and paying it out to Janet. Okay. Okay, we've logged in. So let me just pull it up. Okay. I've got the transaction. So what happens is when John Smith sends the transaction to the Philippines, he's given a transaction reference number or a tracer number. So what happens is he calls Janet and tells her of that tracer number. And when she goes to the bank in the Philippines, she says, okay, I want to encash that remittance and passes that transaction reference number to the branch personnel. So the branch personnel will select the remittance product, key in the tracer number, and will go away and pull the transaction. So there you go, John. So the information basically is pulled out for the amount of 700 rupiahs. So alternatively, what can happen also is the system doesn't just pull down, it pulls down from multiple remittance providers. So for example, I could, another beneficiary could come up and say, hey, I've got money coming in from MoneyGram, and here's my tracer number. Okay, go away and pull it. And what the system does through the gateway is to pull the transaction from MoneyGram and displays it. So essentially what you see is the platform which allows for the sending of the remittance, which is the origination bit, and the actual distribution or the receipt of the remittance at the other end. Okay? Now, all of that takes place because of the remittance gateway, which is a middleware piece which allows for direct connection from the sending bank to the receiving bank. Okay? Now, basically what I like to do is to wrap up and leave with the audience 3 takeaways on NCore and what we do. Essentially, NCore allows banks to disintermediate the global money transfer companies, thereby allowing to set up direct bilateral relationships. So hence, with our platforms, a US bank could connect directly to a Filipino or Asian bank and disintermediate the global money transfer company, thereby saving quite a bit of margin on the revenue side, and more importantly, the bank basically breaks away from the technological stranglehold which the money transfer company puts on the banks. So with that, I thank you.